Hi guys, thank you all for tuning into Big Mama Story Time. Story time! Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment to my page. Here we go. Hi guys, thank you all for tuning into Big Mama Story Time on today. Today I will be reading to you guys the Delphino Detectives. Alright guys, let's get into this. "Look, William," said Laura as she and her brother sat down on the front porch with their peanut butter and banana sandwiches. "There's a police car next door at Mrs. Watson's. I'm going to find out what's going on." "Wait, Laurel," called William. "You can't just ring the doorbell and say, 'Hello, officer. Laura Delphino here. What seems to be the problem?'" "Of course I can," said Laurel. But at the moment, Mrs. Watson's front door opened and out stepped the police officer. Laura, William, and their cat Sadie had hardly entered Mrs. Watson's yard when they were ambushed by Mrs. Watson, yapping miniature pinscher named Prince. Sadie was off like a shot and up a nearby tree, and so Prince had to settle for Laura and Williams. But something was wrong. Prince, whose coat was normally handsome, dark, and sleek, sported strange pink spots all over. The spots weren't soft like the rest of Prince's coat. "What happened, Prince?" asked William. When the officer pulled away, Mrs. Watson stepped out into her yard. "Prince," she called, "you come back here. I'm sorry. He just got away from me." "But what happened?" asked Laura. "He's been vandalized. When I let him out this morning, somebody painted my poor Pookie pink." "Oh my, and that policeman was no help at all. He just asked me a few questions and went on his way." Suddenly, Prince ran growling to the base of Mrs. Watson's hickory tree and stood yipping and jumping at the air. "Don't worry, Mrs. Watson," said Laurel. "William and I will help you." "Oh, do you think you could?" asked Mrs. Watson. "It certainly would ease my mind." "Delphino Detectives at your service," said Laurel. "We won't rest until we've solved the case." "Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful. Come, Prince," she demanded. He didn't, of course, so William collected the wriggly dog and carried him to her. "Come, Pookie," she said. "Let's see if we can get you cleaned up. Maybe some mineral spirits." She took Prince inside. The squirrel ran hurriedly down from the tree. I know he did after the dog was out of his sight. William stood scowling at Laura. "Any brainy ideas, detective?" "Maybe it was Mrs. Watson's yard man," she suggested, "or the mailman. Prince hates them both. Or maybe Adam next door." "They don't seem like dog vandalizers to me," objected William. "Got any better ideas?" asked Laura, but William didn't. "What do you think, Sadie?" asked Laura. "Meow," answered Sadie disinterestedly and walked away. "I guess we should look around," said Laura. "I'll take the front yard, you take the back." Laura checked the mailbox. It was empty. What could that mean? She checked the front porch. Nothing. She checked the driveway and garage. The lawnmower was in place. The grass looked like it hadn't been mowed in almost a week. William checked the back porch, garbage bin, and bird feeder. He went to check the shed, but it was locked. What should he be looking for? He didn't have a clue. I wouldn't know either. "Did you find anything?" William asked Laura after returning to the front yard. "The mailbox is suspiciously empty," Laura whispered. William rolled his eyes. "So? She didn't get any mail. What now?" The Delphino duo decided to go home, finish their snacks, and strategize. When their strategy got them no closer to solving the case, William and Laura decided to break from detective work and pass the soccer ball for a bit. William stopped the ball and paused. Is that Sadie at the back of Mrs. Watson's shed? Sadie crept along the ground ever so slowly, eyes fixed straight ahead. Who's she after? Asked Laura. Mrs. Watson won't like it if she gets one of her birds. Here, kitty, William called. Sadie turned her ears to the sides and then back, all the while maintaining focus on the object of interest. We'd better check it out, said William. I know that feeling. That is what my dog do. And when they got their eyes locked, that's what it is. That's what it is. When William and Laura reached Sadie, they could see that it was no bird she was stalking. It was a big squirrel. The squirrel stood tail flicking, regarding Sadie critically. You can't get that squirrel, said Laura, giggling. Let's go, William. Wait, said William. Don't you notice something strange? Laura looked and her mouth dropped open. What is it? What was it strange? Pink feet. At that moment, Sadie leaped at the squirrel. In a flash, he was across the grass, up the wall, and through a hole in the back of Mrs. Watson's shed. Sadie slunk away, annoyed by the whole situation. As they investigated more closely, the duo noticed the tiny pink footprints all around on the ground and down the shed wall. I think we found our man, said William. Let's talk to Mrs. Watson. Come in, dears, said Mrs. Watson loudly to be heard above Prince's yip-yapping. She opened the door and Prince, only slightly less pink than before, took off after Sadie, who was looking on. Oh, no thank you, said William. We just wanted to ask some questions. Do you happen to have any pink paint in the shed? Asked Laura. Mrs. Watson thought, maybe I do have some pink left from painting my powder room. Then was the shed open this morning by any chance? Asked William. No, she answered. I keep it locked to keep Prince out. That dog goes crazy in there. I don't know what he's after, but he gets in anyway. I think he dug a tunnel under the back wall. Can we check it out? Asked Laurel. Why, of course, answered Mrs. Watson. Let me get the key. Prince came running as Mrs. Watson pulled the shed door open and squeezed through before they could even begin to see inside. The open door told a story. There lay an open paint can on the ground surrounded by splashes of pink. Prince was yipping and jumping at the shelves from which the can had fallen. Mrs. Watson and the Delphino duo quickly identified the object of his contempt. On the very top shelf stood the guilty squirrel. He paused for only a moment, looking at his unwelcome spectators and flicking his tail nervously before leaping up and out through the hole in the wall. Here's how it happened, said William. Prince got into the shed after that squirrel. The squirrel, in his hurry to escape, knocked over the pink paint can. The lid came off, and Prince got a pretty splash of pink. I think I understand, said Mrs. Watson. But how did you know? We saw the culprit outside, answered Laura. Sadie found him, pink feet. Mrs. Watson laughed out loud. Prince stood sulking, rather irritated that his squirrel had gotten away. Sadie, back down from her tree, appeared at the shed door. Seeing the cat, Prince took off with one sharp yip in robo mode. But before he could reach her, Sadie leaped gracefully into the workbench, just out of his reach. Meow, she said with an air of superiority as Prince yapped and jumped helplessly below her. She like, I can get up here and you can't. Nah, get away from me. You two are quite the detectives, said Mrs. Watson, turning to William and Laura. Call us anytime, said Laura. Delphino Detectives at your service. Look at y'all getting jobs and stuff, promoting yourselves. Oh, okay, that's the end. All right, guys, that is the end of the Delphino Detectives. That wasn't so bad. I liked that book. All right, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you all for tuning in to Big Mama Storytime. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my page if you haven't done so already. All right, guys, bye.